All right, well, it's high noon, time to depart. So this particular presentation is about how the Network Operations Center actually works behind the scenes to help you with what's going on in the world of support at Storm. And so we'll just spend a couple of minutes for those of you who don't know the extent to which we're actually doing things in the background. Here's the kind of things that we actually do as we walk through this. I'm fortunate to be joined by members of the Storm team, including Ann Vanderlyn, who is our Director of Customer Success and is responsible for the people who are both in the NOC, the Network Operations Center, as well as in the group of CSRs, or Customer Service Reps. And we work together tightly as a team to make sure that we support the customers as best we can. Thanks for being a Storm customer. Thanks for coming to the webinar. We're actually looking forward to any questions or comments people have for the kind of things they'd like to see in future webinars, and also the kinds of things people would like to see supported. It's been interesting to listen to customers over the last couple of years to understand where they are going with their business and network operations inside their own business. So we thought we'd tell you a little bit about what we've been doing and see if you can come up with some ideas of other things that Storm could do that would be helpful to your business. So this is our 5th webinar. We already have YouTube's up for Wi-Fi, SEO or search engine optimization, for backup and recovery, and business continuity and disaster recovery. So we've got all that. We've got wireless internet access. A lot of people don't know that wireless internet access these days can be done quite economically, and we can deliver a gig or more wirelessly to a premises. So those are important pieces of the puzzle. We've got a lot going on in Storm. We've been around for more than 25 years. With the offices in Ottawa, Chesterville, and Perth, we supervise the support for 10,000 plus customers. We provide support to residential through our CSRs, and in the NOC, we're working on going 24/7. So the Network Operations Center will be available as an optional premium support for commercial customers who would like to have support in the off hours. And we're also looking at rolling out a support service for small office, home office, so people who actually are working from home or running their business from home will be able to get additional levels of support rather than the standard residential support. We have our own fiber and our own fixed wireless access across the region, and we do provide what's called third-party internet access resale of DSL, which is digital subscriber lines. It runs over telephone lines, cable, and also fiber, including commercial fibers for customers. So, our employees are all in the Ottawa Valley. So you have people who actually know where Kemptville is, or Perth. So what our coverage looks like right now is we go from, on the far left, Sharbert Lake area, that's north of Kingston, all the way over to North Lancaster in Baynesville, where we actually have a couple of 200-foot towers that overlook the Quebec border. So we really do have quite a big area that's covered, and we're gradually changing the coverage we have to improve it. You'll notice that the silver circle on the right is there near the Quebec border. That is the North Lancaster Tower, and we're currently offering for residents 100 down and 20 up. We're looking at if there is demand for that across the region. It can be provided for commercial, but commercial also has other options. So we're rolling out things like 250 or 500 for people who actually need those kinds of speeds, depending on what you're doing, whether you have a lot of cameras, whether you're not monitoring a bunch of devices, things like that. So that's all part of what we're doing as we roll things out. So we do a lot of things that people don't know about. We're kind of the hidden gem behind what goes on in the Ottawa Valley. So we do Blues Fest in Kemptville Live as an example. Lots of people have heard of them, but maybe not everybody knows that we bring the Wi-Fi to the campground at Kemptville Live. We do county fairs. So South Mountain and Chesterville are examples of those. We also do work with the construction industry. We're currently responsible for 8 or 10 LRT sites. So the light rail sites in Ottawa benefit from the fact that we are wireless in a lot of instances for their needs, and we can provide a shot of wireless internet to their trailers. And if you've ever been to the Aberdeen Pavilion to register for the Army Run or something like that, you've actually used our Wi-Fi if you used the Wi-Fi while you were there. They use it to register people. We own the Wi-Fi in the building, and we make it available via the City of Ottawa for customers who would like to get Wi-Fi for their event at there. And we're helping other event areas with that kind of thing. In industries, interestingly enough, the rural area around Ottawa, inside the Ottawa borders, contains 1,100 farms. We've been doing smart farms. Most of the smart farms we've done have been in SDNG, Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry, and we have delivered over 150 smart farm projects. And they're dairy, they're doing things with herds, and we're also doing work in the area of grain operations. So we're helping reduce the moisture content by providing internet back to the sensors so that people can monitor and adjust the drying process. Lots of marinas and campgrounds use Storm. And of course, manufacturers in the rural area looking for a place where it's a little less expensive to run their business from are very pleased that we can deliver them like a gigabit footprint if they need that. We're doing lots of things with logistics companies as well. So the notes from the NOC, it's about commercial support at Storm, and also a little bit behind the scenes because we have to keep the whole network running. And when you have 250 plus towers scattered across the 80 square kilometers area, I'm sure I've got that wrong. Maybe Ann can help me with that. Anyway, scattered across the area, we've got a lot of towers, 250 plus, and we have to keep everything running properly across the whole thing. So the Network Operations Center is really important to us in the way that it does things. There's outages, and that's what people want to know about. Because when the internet is out, there are lots of businesses that stop or at least slow down. So if there's a scheduled outage, we tell people via an email saying, hey, this is coming. And we usually manage to get notice from the upstream provider of power or upstream provider of internet, and we can actually get that for you 24 to 48 hours in advance, so you know it's scheduled. Sometimes it doesn't come off as scheduled, but we try to get you the notice to make sure that you can adjust your operations. Often it's in the middle of the night, where for many purposes it doesn't matter, but if you're running cameras or you're running alarm systems, sometimes that could matter a lot. The unscheduled outage is where you get to see people juggling things. So this might be a power outage caused by a lightning storm, or a derecho as happened last year, or even an ice storm, or it could be an equipment issue. We have thousands of pieces of equipment, switches and antennae, and sometimes something goes bump in the night, and we roll a truck and get it replaced as fast as we can, or remotely get it back online. If it's hydro related, then we actually update our IVR, or interactive voice response unit, in case there's going to be a prolonged outage, so that people can actually, when they call in, will hear we know that there's an outage in wherever. And we have spare generators, so we deploy them to the sites where that's needed. Many of our towers already have UPSs and generators, but when it becomes a prolonged outage, sometimes we have to roll a generator out and get it up and running to keep the equipment alive and well. So we can prepare replacement equipment and get it in place as soon as possible. And so with customers, we're starting plans where they can actually have specific equipment maintained for them. And if there's an issue, we can end up with having a spare already pre-configured. We save our configurations so we can load a configuration into new switch pretty quickly and then roll it out to your premises. There may be some situations coming up where we're going to be able to actually walk you through what to do to put the new switch in place to replace something that went out without us even having to roll a truck, because you'll have one sitting on your shelf that is already pre-configured. But we have to keep them updated. That's one of the things we've discovered, is that with regular patches for security and performance reasons, it's really necessary that we try to keep those all going properly. So the way support works is you call us or you email us. And the normal hours are 8 to 8, or on weekends and holidays, it's 10 till 2. So the big thing is that we had some customers that have actually told us that they would like to get longer support hours. And thus, we're looking at what it takes to support 24/7 from the NOC. So if you have some ideas that you'd like to have some things supported, you can talk to your sales reps or just call us, and somebody will work with you to make sure that we get things done. Now, it is a collaboration game when it comes to this kind of thing too, because if we're trying to restore your service to the level that you had, we need to know where you started from. So you'll see that we ask you for some things. So we actually ask you where your equipment is, because if one of our guys needs to come on site, it's important for them to know which building it might be in on your if you have a farm or an industrial campus. It's also necessary for us to be able to get to our cabinets to be able to fix things. So those kinds of things are there. There's things you can do for yourself, like use a power bar with full fault protection. Even use a UPS and use it to do the filtering, so the power, any power spikes get filtered out and never make it to the equipment. Those are useful things. And of course, if there is a power outage, then that equipment continues running. Really important that if you have Wi-Fi access points, you remember that if they're not plugged in, they're not going to work and you won't have access to things. And as I mentioned a little earlier, keeping that firmware up to date on the equipment is important. We need those updated network diagrams to help you get the right support for what you currently have, not what you had 3 years ago when you sent it to us originally. One of the things that happens is people call in and say that they're the authorized person to do this, that, and the other things. We'd like to see them on the authorized caller list. Our sales reps will collect that information and put it into the right databases inside Storm and make sure that it's there. You can put it in through our customer portal, so you can do it yourselves and keep it up to date as people change or people go on vacation. You can keep us updated on what that is, because if you're not an authorized caller, we have less of a chance of being able to support you properly. So we're really looking at this as a collaborative effort. And so the sooner we know about an issue, the sooner we can help you resolve it. Really, if you have an issue, that's what we're here for. We want you to give us a call so we can help you through whatever the issue is. Our best practices include thinking about that UPS and putting it in the right place. And if you have a lot of things, you might want to even get a generator and have it sized right. We know quite a few electricians who can actually help you right size a generator and get it installed in your location. So if we can help you with that, we'd be happy to do that. We also need to know from your network diagram where that equipment is on your site. So you not only have a network diagram, but you also have a site plan. Those would be very good things to help us support things. The storm contact information. You need to have your staff know who can call and make sure they know the numbers to call or the email to use to get hold of Storm, to have us help you with whatever it is that you're suffering from at the time. In your onboarding plan for new IT and network personnel, it's really a very good idea if you can actually add into that onboarding plan something that says to add them to the authorized caller list if they're going to be an authorized caller. So the thing is that all of your equipment, it's really handy to have a little labeler and put it on it so that when somebody who doesn't deal with it on a daily basis knows, they can actually see what's there and can actually understand what a router is, what a switch is, things like that. So you could just label them. That would be great. It helps your people. And even some of our people sometimes, because you may have your own equipment that does different things. So there's different kinds of failovers. So no matter what you have from us, whether you're using DSL, wireless, or LTE, we can actually end up helping you get an automatic failover in place. So let's say you had a fiber. Well, at some point, somebody's with a backhoe is going to threaten that fiber and perhaps take it out of commission. And so fixed wireless access can be used to keep your business going. And because we have 250 towers, we have an enormous reach in the Ottawa Valley and can cover those 8,000 square kilometers quite well. So it's quite probable that even if we sell you a fiber for your building, that we could also provide you with fixed wireless access just in case you have an outage. We also have LTE, which is basically over the airwaves with a SIM card, and then we also have the ability to use DSL for failovers, depending on where you are and whether that service is available. And it can be totally automatic, where if this happens, then it automatically rolls to the other one. Then the other piece of the puzzle is you could also make it so it's a manual failover. Anyway, our team will talk with you about it, and we'll also do a design that helps you achieve your goals on that. So people ask questions like how to do a speed test. So the magic about speed tests is if you're doing it wirelessly, you're going to lose about 50% right off the bat. And the reason is because there's going to be other things going after the same wireless internet access inside your building, off the access point, the Wi-Fi. And so one of the things is if you really need a speed test to tell you what's going on, you should plug in a device using an actual cable into the router, and then you can tell how fast the line really is. And one of the questions we always have from customers is, how fast do I need? And so that is actually computable based on what kind of devices are you supporting, especially inside your building where you might have to support many devices. So everybody's smartwatch, everybody's tablet, everybody's laptop that is wirelessly competing for those access points, they're each going to slice up the access to that particular device. One of the things that some of our customers have done is people's smartwatches go on the guest network. Most of the routers these days have a guest network, and maybe even more than one guest network. And we can actually move those devices so that over to a guest network by having you make that the login for those devices. So somebody's smartwatch now just deals with talking to the guest network and not getting in the way of the major thing that's going on in your building for work. So those are some of the kind of things you can do. And the number of devices that can support, some of the older Wi-Fi can only support, say, 24 or 32 access items. And nowadays, some of the newer ones can actually access 256 devices or more. So you actually need to know how many devices am I going to want to put on this particular access point or this particular Wi-Fi network, and do I need more than one Wi-Fi network to cover my building properly, especially since things change from when you're like 19 feet away to when you're 90 feet away. There's a huge difference in the amount of signal that you can actually receive wirelessly at the different areas. So you need to know what kind of bandwidth each device needs and what the application is there that people are going to be running, and how fast it really needs to be. Anything else on that, Anne?
No, you've pretty much covered all of that.
Okay. So typical deployments. So these are the new antennas that we have that can do. They're capable of 100 down and 20 up. We're finding people with multiple people working from home, or people in a building that needs things, can use one of these, and they're deployed on the top of the roof or side of the house, or side of the building, and that actually then goes and points for line of sight to the antenna. This particular antenna is in North Lancaster, and it would be aiming at that particular antenna, which is 200 feet high. And so from the customer premises equipment, or CPE, we have a signal that goes to, in this case, North Lancaster, and segment 3 off the tower, because all the segments are labeled. And in that case, there's 4 of them because they do 90 degrees each. These are the kinds of questions that you want to think about for when you're planning something for your building. Is there an internet feed to your building yet? And if there's not, we can do it both through fiber as well as through wireless. And of course, because we can deliver more than a gig wirelessly, the question is, what do you actually need for your building? Then you have to take a look at what the access points inside the building are going to be to move that signal around the building, and to understand clearly what kind of speeds are you going to need for the different kinds of applications, because that's an important. And that, if you have 5 people going to be on video calls at the same time, and you just assume 5 up is the right speed, then you'd need 25 up as a minimum. But we also find that some people don't realize that each one of those devices adds up, and so it's important that you figure that all out. So when we do a Wi-Fi survey in your building, we look at the frequencies that are available. So typically the frequencies include 2, 4, 5, and nowadays 6. And those 3 frequencies provide the basic access for wireless. But then within each of those frequencies, there are different channels, and there are many channels. And the trouble is, if everybody bought their devices from Best Buy and left them it can default configured, then you might end up with the entire neighborhood on channel 6, say, and that will cause an issue. And just because it's a 5 megahertz signal does not mean that it's better than a 2.4, depending on how much 2.4 is used in your area, and depending on the congestion inside that particular frequency. and specifically on the channels that you might be wanting to go to. So our team actually, if we're responsible for maintaining and managing your access point, we will actually do work to look at the channels that are available. And some of our professional grade routers are actually smart enough to start telling you when there's interference from other devices. So even a microwave can actually put out an electrical interference signal that will actually cause the internet access to be spotty while the microwave is actually running. So that's something that people don't always realize. I mean, you've all heard it on a radio when somebody turned on a vacuum cleaner. You heard the kind of noise from the interference. Well, the same thing happens when we're talking about a router. So we can review your network with you. We can look at what devices you have today and what you're planning on doing. We check your network plan to make sure you're going to have the speed of connection that meets your business's needs. And by us offering this 24/7 support, we're going to monitor network equipment. We're going to have a customized support plan for you. And the sales team will be happy to have a conversation about enhanced support with you anytime you like. We think that this is something that some of our customers really need. And so if you're one of those customers, please make sure you reach out to us and let us know. And we're at the point where we can do Q&A.
So no, I have no issues, except how soon are you going to bring the speed higher up in the country? Right, I got back up, so that's all.
Well, we are actually raising it regularly. Since 2020, we've done over 200 points of presence upgrades. So we actually go through the process of looking for the business case for upgrading, because it's not free. We have to put sometimes new equipment in, and we definitely have to update antennas often. And of course, with some of them, we actually have to swap the customer premises equipment as well. So we always look at all that, find out how many businesses in the area would like higher speeds, and then we do a business plan for that particular tower. Then once we have enough commitments for that, we make it happen. But we do it pretty quickly. I mean, we decided in late November that we were going to do the experiment in North Lancaster, and we had it up and running within 3 weeks. So, if we have a business case for doing it, we're definitely interested in it, but you have to let somebody in sales at storm.ca know that you need order support, because we all talk, because we really do want to service you with what you really need.
Yeah, I live in the Val-des-Monts area, and I live beside a huge mountain, so satellite doesn't seem to work where I am, so I'm stuck with DSL. So anyway.
Yeah, well, we will try to help you with all those things.
Thank you, man. I've always enjoyed your service since 1998.
Okay, great. And if you have some suggestions, or if you have more neighbors, you'd be surprised at what happens when 10 neighbors get together and say, "Hey, would you come here?" Because now we can get a business case pretty quickly.
That's a very good idea, because Val-des-Monts in my area is growing 11% per year. So I'll put up an ad in the local store, and I'll see if anybody's interested. So that's a good idea. I'll do that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Merci beaucoup.
Did you?
Okay, and we have a question from Michael. Michael says, any plans to fill in the area just north of St. Lawrence River between Iroquois and Morrisburg with storm coverage? We are always reviewing things. So in fact, one of the people here, Jason Riddick keeps track of what we call black stars. So what happens is, if we can't provide you service and you've actually asked if you can get service at a particular location, you end up as a star on our map. And when there's enough black stars in an area, or dark stars in an area, Jason sticks his hand up and says, "Hey, we need a tower here. We've got 10 to 15 people that need access." And so we look at the business case for putting that tower wherever that is. So we're always reviewing the network footprint. We will build this summer in a number of different places. And your area might be one if there's enough people that say, please, and then we can get a business case and we can make it happen. Well, thanks again for attending. We're looking forward to giving another webinar. Yeah, we're going to do one on smart farms. Storm has done 150 smart farms in the area, as I mentioned earlier, and we're interested in sharing some information on smart farms and helping people understand what's going on there and how we can perhaps help integrate your farm into internet to do things like tracking a herd, making sure that your dairy processing is automated, and even maple syrup producers love us for this kind of thing. Okay, thanks so much, everybody, and we'll see you next time.
See you next time. Thanks. Bye.
Okay, thanks.